The 2024 Chicago Bears so far have been, dare I say it, a tad disappointing. Now, that could change over the next couple of days. One thing that, despite some of the problems that have been evident, and they are clear as day where some of the problems lie. When we're talking about the offensive line, we're talking about Nate Davis. We're talking about Coleman Shelton. We're talking about DeAndre Swift at running back, 37 carries, I think, for 60 yards after 3 games. So there are some changes that are in store. And the good news is those changes are being addressed. We're starting to see some moves by this team as they are recognizing what's not working. And listen, the most important thing that we should at least acknowledge and recognize is last season they appeared to be tone deaf when it came down to making changes. Ryan Poles went out publicly and said that he thinks the problem here is not talent, that the problem here is execution. Execution comes from the coaches preparing the teams. So he's acknowledging and recognizing that there are issues and concerns, and he is saying that they need to be addressed. Now, that's led to one big change immediate. And that big change is Matt Pryor will now start at right guard. Now, a statement was made by Matt Eberflus saying that Matt Pryor was going to get the start. And also, he was very careful in how he addressed the situation with Nate Davis, saying that Nate Davis continues to be injured. However, we should all at least recognize last Sunday, Matt Pryor started at right guard. And when pressed and when Braxton Jones went down, Matt Pryor shifted to left tackle, and Nate Davis was able to play at right guard. So it seems like he's healthy enough to play. And if he's healthy enough to play and he's not playing and he's had another week to get better, then he's being benched in favor of Matt Pryor. Nate Davis is on the outs right now. So that is a very, very good sign, especially when you consider that Nate Davis sitting on the sidelines, crying like a baby, eating a green onion, is none too happy with this scenario. And look, for the future of this team, he's going to have to either get it together or get out of the way. And I think that get out of the way is probably the end result of it. But Matt Pryor is going to get that start. That's a great first step. But what about the next step? That next step would be, what about Coleman Shelton? And I don't have an answer for Coleman Shelton at this point because there is no answer right now for what's going on with Coleman Shelton. I do think that the fix is in, and I think that the fix is Ryan Bates, and that Ryan Bates might be a better option. I think they preferred Ryan Bates in this system to begin with. I think most of us knew going in that Ryan Bates was going to be the starter at center, but when he went down, that left it to Coleman Shelton. And look, I don't think that there's a problem with Coleman Shelton. I think that I think it's been a little. I think it's been a little of execution, and that the Shane Waldron playbook has just been a little cutesy, if you will, and he hasn't been given up to. And look, some of these plays have not been great. I'm gonna tell you guys that until I'm blue in the face. Some of these plays that you've seen from Coleman Shelton have not been great, but they've improved as we've moved along. Now, you can see plenty of moments against Indianapolis where you started to see clean pockets, and hopefully we'll see that continue to develop as we go. There was plenty of rush to be there, but remember, at Houston, there were 7 sacks against Caleb Williams. In Indianapolis, there were 3. Now, could it be because the defenses are just better? Yeah, it absolutely could be. But at the same time, improvement and progress is still improvement and progress. And one of the interesting things here is that Coleman Shelton, despite being pushed off the block a couple of times, has started to buckle down. And, a lot of this problem stems from Nate Davis not being able to step up and do his job effectively, which is why Matt Pryor is in there. So I think in fixing one part of this offensive line, you are in essence going to be able to fix the other part, at least in part, until the guy that you really wanted in your lineup, that being Ryan Bates, is healthy enough to start playing. So we'll start to see that. Now, there is more to this, because one of the things that was one of the things that was said was that Nate Davis not going to be able to. He's probably not going to be a go. So Matt Pryor gets the start, but there was more to it because DeAndre Swift, 37 carries, 68 yards. Guys, this cannot continue. So DeAndre Swift, is he the next guy to get benched? And by the way, I do want to state for the record here, I am not out on DeAndre Swift yet. I am still in on DeAndre Swift. I've seen the production. I understand the production. I know that there is a problem, but could it be that the problem so far has been Shane Waldron and his dodgy play calling at this point, and the fact that what the Bears need and what the Bears are able to do are not the same thing. What the Bears need is for Shane Waldron to be able to run these sweeps that DeAndre Swift would probably be decent at. But what we're equipped to do is run the ball up the middle and force our way. We've got a couple of big guys who are pretty mean, who allowed a team to be a number one rushing offense last season, and we're not utilizing them appropriately. But when we did, in the short amount of time that we did, one guy averaged 3.8 yards per play, which, by the way, we want 4.5 or 5 yards per carry, but I will take 3.8 yards on every one of them. That man was Roshan Johnson. And now there's rumors coming out of Hallis Hall that there will be an extended look at Roshan Johnson going into this next game. The insider here, and this isn't Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, said that he spoke to an insider with the Bears, and he said that watch for Bears running back Roshan Johnson to get an extended look this week. Chicago has struggled mightily to run the ball and turn to Johnson, more of a bruiser, for 8 carries in week 3 for the Colts, and the Bears need to get downhill faster. So, when you look at, and by the way, there is a list of different plays showing how poorly DeAndre Swift has been playing so far. And listen, this is, and this again, this is coming from Jeremy Fowler. He has been by far their most reliable running back, rushing for 30 yards on 8 carries and catching 4 passes for 32. It isn't fancy, but it's better than anything the Bears have gotten in any one of their other options. Johnson is the type of back who doesn't need pristine blocking. He has enough power, contact balance, and vision to make something positive from every run. True, he doesn't have the explosiveness that teams might prefer, but that doesn't matter. It is getting the job done. And listen, Roshan Johnson hits the hole fast. He gets in there and he starts to grab those utility yards that we're not getting from somebody else right now. Now, could Khalil Herbert also be that guy? The answer to that would be yes. Well, what about long term? Long term, this is the way you need to look at it. We don't have the depth at the offensive line to do the plays, or we don't have the skill at the offensive line to do the plays that make DeAndre Swift look good. We have to be honest about that. We have to correct it very quickly. Does that mean DeAndre Swift is done? No, we've got him for 3 years. This is a guaranteed contract. He's going to be here for a while, just like Nate Davis. What I would do if I were Shane Waldron at this point, or Matt Eberflus, is I would bench DeAndre Swift right now and just explain to him, look, this game that we're trying to run right now, it's not working. So we're going to have to go with a little bit more up the middle, and we don't think that you're equipped for running up the middle. We think that Roshan is more equipped for that. So what we're going to do is we're going to start him right now, and we're going to get you in the game. You're still going to be part of the game, but we're going to be looking for that bruiser right now. That's what the team needs, and there's going to be some time later on when this offensive line gels a little bit better, when we can start to run sweeps, when we can start to do the things that you're good at. We're going to get you involved. But for right now, Roshan Johnson and probably Khalil Herbert are going to be the guys running up the middle at this point. So, and look, it's the question right now would be, is DeAndre Swift capable of being that guy who understands his limitation right now in this offense, recognizes it, and accepts that that is the way that it goes. Now, if he doesn't, that's okay, because he's going to sit anyway. There's no fix. There's no fix for this other than to put in the people who can run the ball up the middle. So I would expect that we're going to see some changes here. And I think, by the way, that when it comes down to these changes, that it's very important to recognize that you know the Bears are under the Bears are under the gun right now, starting 1-2 on a team that at this point should be at least 2-1 or 3-0 is not a good look for any of the coaches that are involved. It's not a good look for Matt Eberflus. It's not a good look for Shane Waldron that we're averaging 17 points. We average 24 points a game under Justin Fields. So let that sink in. We're averaging a touchdown less per game so far than we were under Justin Fields, who we largely agreed was a good guy, but just not an elite quarterback in the NFL, who, by the way, is 3-0 in Pittsburgh. And God, look, I can't stress anymore. I told you guys this was going to happen in some way. I'm still hopeful, and I still think Caleb Williams is ultimately the better pick at quarterback. I think ultimately, and you can see the product on the field, and you can know that just in watching him for a little while. But Justin Fields would have given them a better opportunity to win now. So let's see how this plays out over the next little while, because there's more to this than meets the eye. Darnell Wright, it was just announced, has been injured, and he did not practice yesterday. And that means, according to Brad Biggs, that he might sit. And if he sits, then things are going to get very, very interesting for this team, because guess what? What is potential here is a very interesting sort of change in the lineup right here. Karan Emagaji might get his first start. If Darnell Wright cannot go, then there's two options. Those options are to move Matt Pryor to the tackle position, and Nate Davis would end up starting at right guard, which is impossible if Nate Davis is injured, right? Are we seeing now how this is playing out? Or Kiran will get his first start next to Matt Pryor. And, to be fair here, I do think that this is the better option. Do I think that the Bears are going to be better with Kiran at this point? No. I think he's going to make rookie mistakes. But you know what? We're 1-2 right now. Let him make some rookie mistakes early on in the season, because we could probably use him if he is, in fact, an upgrade over Braxton Jones in the long term. If we could use this guy, and certainly could use him as a sub to help spell some of these guys so that they didn't get tired late in the game. So getting Kiran into the game might end up happening. Now, again, the options are to move Matt Pryor to tackle and let Nate Davis play at guard, or let Kiran play and then leave Matt Pryor at the guard position. So that's what's happening right now for the Chicago Bears. So it's certainly interesting to see how this is all playing out and how it's all shaping up. Now let's close this out with looking at the injury report, and you will see that we have a problem, Houston. Zach Pickens did not practice. Darrell Taylor did not practice. We have on the defensive line, we have Montez Sweat, who was limited with an elbow injury, should be a go. He should be a guy that can go. So I feel like we're going to be, I think we're going to do, I think we're going to be fine. Look, ultimately, I'm not happy with the way the things have progressed so far. Also, Andrew Billings was limited in practice with a knee injury. So there is a lot of concern right now about depth on that defensive line, especially. But Terrell Smith did not practice, and Darnell Wright did not practice. Keenan Allen was limited in practice with a heel injury. And look, it's good to see that Keenan Allen is now participating in practice on a limited basis. That means that he's coming back. Will he be in the lineup this week? Might get in for a few plays. Might just be a normal. This might be the spot where we start to see Keenan Allen get back into the mix. And look, we can use a guy who doesn't drop passes, even though we did see him drop a pass in the end zone for Caleb Williams. And I want to say, look, it's like you rip off a band-aid. Once Caleb Williams ripped that band-aid off and got that first touchdown with Roma Dunze, did you notice the second one was a little bit easier? I think I showed you in the breakdown yesterday that the defense had went soft and they had started to back up and they had started to give him openings for him to make passes. And they allowed the rushing game to at least move forward a little bit. Roschon Johnson made a few good runs. So it changed the dynamic of the game and allowed them to start doing what we expected them to do all this time. Look, at this point, when you look around, Caleb Williams should have had 4 touchdown passes in that game and 1 interception. So this team hopefully has rip the band-aid off and we'll start to produce some touchdowns, and let's run this score up a few times. Start to look like the team that we were hoping you guys were going to look like. That leaves us with Kari Blasingame, who is now limited in practice but still here, and Braxton Jones still injured with a knee. So we've got Nate Davis, we've got Darnell Wright, we've got Braxton Jones. We've got some problems here. Now, if any one of these guys cannot go, Quran is going to be pressed into the game, and I think that's going to be a very, very good thing. Again, it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. Roschon Johnson going to get a lot of look this week. There's a lot to like right now. And by the way, let me point this out because this one was interesting, and I know that it's funny when we talk about it. It's very, very funny when we talk about it. But did you know that there is a Bill Murray on the Chicago Bears? Offensive lineman Bill Murray visited the New Life Centers of Chicagoland Panda Vida Food Pantry to hand out food to families in the area. Panda Vida provides hope and healing for connecting families to fresh food, community, and relationships. So having a Bill Murray on a team in which Bill Murray is a fan of, it writes itself. It writes itself as a comedy skit here. So shout out to Bill Murray for taking the time to go do this. And shout out to, where was the original Bill Murray? Why were you not there, man? You should have been there along with Bill Murray of the Chicago Bears, Bill Murray of the Chicago Bears fan club. So anyway, guys, that's my time. It's a short show today. I do think that we're going to do a prediction tomorrow. Guys, look, I just want to say this. Matt Pryor starting, I think the team has performed a little bit better. Does that mean that Nate Davis is done? I don't think that he is, but I think that the Bears have had enough of his prima donna type behavior. And look, if he's really and legitimately injured, fine. But I do think that we can all at this point agree that he has not performed up to snuff. So even if it's not prima donna and he's legitimately injured, even when he's healthy, he has not been a contributor, a major contributor like we had expected, not worth $12 million. So it's better right now to make a move to Matt Pryor and let's see how it plays out. It's better at this point to make a move to Quran and let him get some PT and let him see what he can do on this field, how he will handle it. And by the way, he is a big man. Could you imagine an offensive side of that right side of that line if Quran is as nasty as people say? If Matt Pryor is as nasty as the defense is telling us in practice, if we start running behind those two behemoths, what can Roschon Johnson do? And if that is the case, what can Khalil Herbert do? And then if that is the case, what can we expect out of DeAndre Swift? I think the rushing game is about to improve dramatically if all the pieces work into place. Now, guys, it's the Chicago Bears. So there is a real possibility that none of the pieces are going to work right. It's the Chicago Bears. However, if it does, then this is the corner that we're going to turn and we're going to become a much better team overall. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Remember to bear down, and Green Bay, I get more confident every day, and not by our performance, by the way. I just convince myself that we are going to be a better team as this season continues to progress, and that 5 wins in a row, you're about to be reeled off. Let me know what you think again in the comments below, and we will talk to you guys again tomorrow where we do some predictions for what is going to happen against the